Hey everyone, Havoc Bounce here, coming to you with another tank review. Today we're going to do the Tier 6 Chinese medium. It's the Type 58. If you've been watching my videos, I'm going down the line of Chinese heavy tanks to the 113, and I did the Type T34 Tier 5 Chinese medium last week. Now I'm going over the Type 58, the Tier 6. Looking forward to the IS and the rest of the heavy tanks down the line. If you watched my video on the Type T34 versus the T34, you notice the similarities between the two tanks. The Russians and the Chinese tanks are almost identical. The common theory is that the Chinese tanks are kind of cheap knockoffs of the Russian versions of the tank, and so far that seems to hold pretty much true. I mean, the hope is at the Tier 9 and 10 level, these tanks are maybe even better than their Russian counterparts, and that's why I'm going down the line, and we will find that out in the end. But as with the Type T34 versus the T34, the T34 was superior in almost every way that I could see to the Type T34. But they were both still really good tanks, and that it was no reason not to play that tank. I will say with the Type 58, you've run into that once again. The T34-85, which I also have, and I've played several battles in, and I was able to compare the two directly. I can tell you that there's no question that the T34-85 has more advantage, or at least more powerful advantages than the Type 58, although they are different in three ways. I will say that they are different in that the Type 58 has a 10-meter view range advantage over the T34-85. The Type 58 also has 30 more hit points than the T34-85. And I guess you could say that it has a rate of fire advantage because it fires 12 rounds a minute as opposed to the T34-85 firing 10 rounds a minute. But it's not that, and I'll break down later on why that is not an advantage. This in no way, shape, or form does this tank have an advantage when it comes to the gun. The rate of fire looks at a glance like it's an advantage, but it is not, because it is definitely a lower version of the T34-85 gun. And basically the gun on this tank, the top package on this tank, is almost identical to a lower package on the T34-85 as far as the gun is concerned. So really what you're talking about is a Type 58 has 10 meters more view range, 30 more hit points. Other than that, is completely inferior to the T34-85 in almost every way. And I will get into the advantages or disadvantages of this tank, and I will get into the difference between this and the T34-85 in more detail. But as I said in the last review, I'm going to try and do this quicker as far as putting out to you right away the equipment, the crew skills, and the consumables. And that way, if you want to skip ahead to the gameplay, I will put that in the comment section below the video, so you guys can just go ahead and move forward to the gameplay if that's what you want to do. Not that it really matters, because no one's watching these tank reviews anyway. Alright, so talking about equipment here, you don't have vertical stabilizer, so I'm going to go with the number one staple item being the gun rammer. Instead of vertical stabilizer, we're going to go with enhanced gun laying drive, which would be the closest thing to a vertical stabilizer since it's going to affect your aim time and therefore your gun handling. And I'm going to go with coated optics to maximize the 10-meter view range advantage we already have, which is above average for a Tier 6 medium, by the way. And coated optics is going to make that advantage even stronger. And when we talk about crew skills, I'm going to show you the crew that I put into they're in the T34-3 right now. This crew, the only difference is that the track mechanic, I replaced situational awareness for track mechanic because obviously going into the IS-2, I am not going to care about view range when you're in such a big heavy tank, but I am going to care about tracking and repairing. So what I had going was Sixth Sense, Brothers in Arms, Snapshot, Smooth Ride, and I did situational awareness to really maximize the view range, because I feel like, you know, you don't get a whole lot of advantages in this Type 58, and you need to really make the ones that you have the strongest possible. So I went for coated optics along with situational awareness, and I did give me I felt like a strong view range advantage. The concealment value is 45, which isn't bad. So you can really do a little bit of spotting with this tank, which you're going to have to kind of do, because as you're going to see when I talk about the gun stats, this tank has got some issues as far as how versatile you can use the gun. But all right, so we already talked about crew skills, Sixth Sense, Brothers in Arms, smooth ride, snapshot, smooth ride, situational awareness. If you want to add another skill there, I would go to camo after that. But as I went into the IS-2, it's a totally different tank, so I went towards track mechanic and repairs. Consumable loadout, plenty of shells seems to be the motto for Chinese tanks. It's not like it was a problem in the Russian variation of the tank, so it's kind of like a joke that this would be an advantage to these tanks to have so many shells. But you're definitely not worried about having enough shells. So you have enough shells to do a couple high explosives if you find any need for them in the game. Definitely carry a good amount of APCR, as the penetration on this tank is kind of low. So you're going to want to have a good amount of APCR, plenty of room for plenty of AP. I ran a premium consumable, 12% chance of fire in the engine. I did find that the tank starts on fire a good amount if you're hit from the sides and back. So I would recommend you do not run a premium consumable and instead run a fire extinguisher. But I chose to live life on the edge, and I ran a premium consumable, and there were definitely times when I paid for it. I know that I know a 12% chance of engine fire doesn't seem like a lot, and it really shouldn't, because of the fact that if you look at the packages on this tank are a joke. But I did, as I said, I did catch on fire a good amount. So, alright, in summary, equipment would be rammer, GLD, optics, crew skills, Sixth Sense, Brothers in Arms, snapshot, smooth ride, situational awareness, camouflage. Consumables, I already told you the ammo loadout. I probably do at least a third of it APCR, a handful of HE, and I ran a premium consumable, which I don't recommend. Alright, now we're going to talk about the tank. As I stated, I want to show you the packages real quick, because they really are a joke on this tank. I would not free XP a lot of the stuff on this tank, only because the packages just aren't worth it. I mean, maybe free XP the first package, but I wouldn't free XP much further than that, only because it's just, you're not getting very much. If you look at this, I mean, the guns, this package, the first gun you get is really not much different than the second gun you get. I mean, the accuracy goes down by 0.04, which is great, but you only get 2 more millimeters of penetration. The gun's not bad, but it's not great either. But the difference between these two guns is almost the same. It's actually not even the gun, I think, that changes. It's the turret that changes. So you get, you'll get more view range. That 10 meters more view range. And then the last package, talk about a joke here. It's the same. It's just a different engine. It's the same, pretty much the same engine, basically. A 20 meter or 20 HP boost doesn't really do anything at all. But more importantly, the engine goes from 15% chance of engine fire to 12% chance of engine fire. So if you thought if you started on fire a lot with the 12%, in this package, I really did start on fire a good amount here. But as I said, none of these packages really seem to be substantially better than the other. They're just slight increases throughout. So I would just grind them out. And as I said, if you can handle running this tank without a premium consumable, I would recommend it, because regardless of which engine you're running, the tank did start on fire a good amount, which just holds true to the reputation of Chinese tanks. As I said to you before, the difference between this tank and the T-3485, one of the big differences is that the T-3485 boasts a 600 horsepower engine and a higher power to weight ratio, so the tank is much more maneuverable. And it also has a much better gun, as we'll see here in a second. This gun that you're seeing right here is basically the second package on the T-3485. The T-3485 has 144 millimeters of penetration, and more in the APC in the premium round as well. It has higher alpha at 180. The rate of fire is 10 rounds a minute, so it's a lower rate of fire, but you also have a higher alpha, which means the tank has probably a higher DPM, if not the same. The gun is more accurate on the T-3485 with a .37 as opposed to this .38. So, I mean, in every way, shape, or form, the T-3485 gun is superior with more pen, more alpha, better accuracy. And if that wasn't bad enough, the T-3485 has 7 degrees of gun depression, and this tank only has 5 degrees. And if you're not familiar with gun depression, that can be a real issue. When you go to run this tank, you're going to find that to be quite an annoyance, the 5 degrees. It's workable, This tank kind of reminded me a little bit of the Ziska Skoda T40, which is a tank that I really love. It doesn't have the 8.8 centimeter gun that the Ziska has, so it has less alpha. It's just not even close to as good of a gun as the Skoda T40, but it also has 5 degrees just like the Skoda T40 does. But this tank has some armor, and the Skoda T40 really doesn't. So I don't know. I guess I'd say that you kind of want to play this a little bit at range, which is why I took advantage of the 10 meters of view range, and 370 meters of view range for a tier 6 medium is actually pretty good. So I went towards the optics with the situational awareness. If you can get camo on there, I mean, obviously I camoed my tank, and if you can put camo skill on there to boot, then it would be nice to be able to really outspot your opponents and try and shoot them from range. The .38 accuracy is not that bad on the tank, and the pen really isn't that bad if you're using it, you know, correctly. And with this version of the tank and the gun, I mean, the rate of fire is actually kind of impressive as far as the DPM can go. So if you're penning, you're really gonna kind of melt some targets. But other than that, I mean, I'll get to gameplay here.
Loaded and ready. Target locked. That one left a big hole.
and I'm a tier 6. There's a lot of tier 8s too. It's not like 1 or 2 tier 8s.
Target locked.
Problem I have is if I get lit up here, it's gonna be like really painful.
Load it up. Let it rip. Dropping target. Enemy in sight.
There's no artillery,
Enemies
which is
moving right
really
at us.
nice for this spot. If there's artillery, you can't just hang out here. Things with gun depression, things with good camo value. I mean, like tier 10s, we're talking Centurion Action X, STB, Leopard. Leopard would do great here.
The enemy knows our location. There's one. Target locked. Loaded and ready. Friendly vehicle destroyed. Ready to fire on target. We didn't penetrate their armor. They're hit. They found us. Ready to fire on target. They've spotted us. We got them. Gun loaded.
Yeah, I need that T-29 to be gone, man.
Locked on. They're knocked down. Focus on this area.
Yeah, I wouldn't put an E5 up here at all.
Target locked. Punched a hole in their armor.
Alright, I stayed up there way too long that time and I get a
Ready
shot
to
for it.
fire.
Eventually, this guy over here is going to come over here and get behind me. But I have to support the team where they are because if I don't, we're going to get pushed. Uh-oh. No, now we have a problem. The medium is going to come through too.
The enemy knows our location. Unlocking target. No good. Didn't go through. Locked on. Load it up. Let it rip. Ready to fire on target. Enemies got us in their sights. We've got a lock. Releasing target. Nice shot. Target locked. Enemies looking right at us.
Yep.
We've got a lock. We pierced their armor. We just dinged them. They've spotted us. Enemy armor is damaged. Zero penetration. We didn't penetrate their armor. Enemies caught fire. Our team
Nope, that's the move.